Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem HaKadosh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, to the true leaders of Israel today, and salutations to all the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushua, and the Lord is all the chosen people, are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Yakale, and I'm from the GMS Jamaica Kingston camp, and this video is about the salvation of the Israelites, in particular that salvation of the Israelites will come from all nations that are upon this earth, and that these Israelites from these nations will also look like those nations themselves. Okay, so I want to start here in the book of Revelation chapter 5 and verse 9, and it says, "And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book, and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain, and hast redeemed us to Yahweh, who was slain Yahushai, by thy blood, out of every kindred, and tongue, and people, and nation, and hast made us unto our power kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth." Now, some people will read that and they will say, well, there it is, that because it says that we have been redeemed by thy blood, which is Yahushai, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, people will say, okay, well, salvation is for everyone. But that's not true. Salvation is only for the Israelites. And this is the first thing that you have to be able to grasp before you can understand the rest of what I'm about to teach. Okay? Now, salvation is only for the Israelites, as we were the ones who were given the promises and everything. Okay, so let's get that. So it says, First Chronicles chapter 16 and verse 13, "O ye seed of Israel, his servants, you children of Jacob, his chosen ones. He is the Lord Yahweh, our power. His judgments are in all the earth." Okay, so first of all, it says the seed of Israel, his chosen ones. All right, so the Israelites are chosen. "Be ye mindful always of his covenant, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, even of the covenant which he made with Abraham, and of his oath unto Isaac, and hath confirmed the same to Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant." Okay, everlasting. Let's see what it says here. Long duration, everlasting, evermore, continuous existence, perpetual, indefinite, unending, eternity. All right, so this is given unto us, the children of Israel, forever. Okay, saying, unto thee will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance. Right, so the promises were given unto the Israelites. All right, we can also jump into the New Testament, because you have some people out there that say, okay, well, in the New Testament things changed. Nothing changed. When Yahushua came on the scene, Yahushua said, well, actually, I believe it's in the book of Matthew. I think it could be chapter 14? Let's see. It's actually Matthew 15 and verse 24. "But he answered and said," as you can see, it's in red, "I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So Yahushua said, he is sent unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel and no one else. He don't say any mention of any other kind of nation. All right, in Luke where am I going, yo? Luke 1 and 68. Like scrolling up. This is Luke chapter 1 and verse 68. "Blessed be the Lord Yahweh of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people." Who are the Lord's people? Israel. the chosen ones that are read about in Chronicles, and hath raised up an horn of salvation. Who's that horn of salvation? Yahushai, for us in the house of his servant David. All right. As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world begun, that we should be saved from our enemies. So it says that we shall be saved from our enemies. So the Israelites have a list of enemies, and they're listed in the book of Psalms, 83? Right. So since we're being saved from our enemies, the Israelites, who are those enemies? That means that everybody can't be saved. You know what I'm saying? If you even think about it just logically, right? There must be those enemies that cannot be saved. So everybody can't be saved. Okay? And these are nations that it's referring to, whole nations. All right? And from the hand of all that hate us, right? So salvation is only for us. And so once you understand that, you'll understand when we go back to this, Revelation chapter 5 and verse 9, and they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to Yahweh. Once again, this is the same Yahushai, thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. Now, let's say, Lord willing, you understand that only Israelites can be saved, and so you're saying, okay, well, only Israelites can be saved, but it's saying out of every people and tongue and nation, right? So yes, a part of the curses is that our people have been scattered, right? So in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, what is it? Is it 43? No. 64. It's here somewhere. Let me get it real quick. It is 64. I scrolled past it. Okay, here we go. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. And the Lord Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. So we're scattered to the four corners of the earth, among all the heathen, among the so-called Chinese, so-called Africans, so-called Pacific Islanders, so-called white man, so-called Japanese, so-called East Indians, so-called Arabs. Okay, all nations upon this earth, and there are 18 nations. Well, 18 in total. We count as one of them. So there's 17 other nations besides the Israelites, if I remember that correctly. Pretty sure that's correct. And so we are scattered among all of them. Okay, it's a curse upon us. Okay? And there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. All right? So we're scattered to these other nations, and not only that, but we've taken on to their ways, and we have served their gods. That's a part of our punishment. So when it says that you're a part of these nations, right? Wow, Salakio. You serve their gods, you take onto their customs and their cultures, you take onto their foods, you take onto their language, you take onto their ways of life. You essentially become, so people are familiar with the word Americanized, right? When you have like all of these immigrants over time, let's say you are an Arab and you go over to America and you're there and you speak your native tongue. After a few generations, you become Americanized and now you become like an American, all right? And that is actually what happened to our people during the Roman captivity, all right? Those are the Gentiles that are spoken of, right? What happened to our people was the Hellenization of the Jews, right? So our people were up in the Roman captivity and they knew who they were, but eventually a portion of our people took on to the ways of Esau Edom, and so they became Greeks. You see, it's the same way how today in modern day society people from other nations go to America and become Americans, or they go to Australia and they're there for several generations and they become Australians, or whatever the situation is. It's that same kind of concept. But salvation is only for the Israelites, right? So we've been scattered and we've taken on to their ways and everything. So now when our people have been scattered, which we have been scattered for a very long time, okay, we mingle with their daughters. And when I say we, I'm talking about the men, because now you have to understand this part as well, where when it is that a man from a nation has a child with a female from whether it is their own nation or another nation, it is the seed of the man that determines the nation of the child. There's no such thing as, well, Salakia again. There's no such thing as mixed race or mixed breed or anything like that. Women are nothing but incubators to hold a child, okay, and then to deliver it, right? But the seed is planted within that child. And in the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18, it lets you know, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, their pedigrees, their lineage, everything about it, okay? Men beget children, etc., etc., by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So the seed of the father determines the nation. So if you are an Israelite and you pop a so-called white woman, an Edomite woman, the child is going to still be an Israelite, no matter if the child comes out looking like Drake's son. Google him. I think his name is Adonis. Okay? And in modern day society, you see it all the time. All the time. And guess what? Ain't nothing new under the sun. All right? Our men have been popping heathen women for a very long time. You can even go back to the book of Ruth. Okay? Where Ruth, where is it at? I'll get it real quick. Ruth, right? Ruth was a Moabitess, a Moabite, a so-called Chinese woman in other words, right? And she was the daughter-in-law of Naomi, wife of Boaz, and grandmother of David. So David's grandmother is a so-called Chinese woman, okay? But David is not a mixed race or anything like that, because Naomi's husband was Boaz, who's an Israelite man. So the seed went down the ancestral line, the lineage, and so David is an Israelite, right? So you are what your father is. So now that hopefully you understand that concept as well, and you understand that only Israelites can be saved, we can then go back to this in Revelation, and you can understand what it's talking about when it says, redeemed us to Yahweh Shemeshai by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. All right, so our people will not only be delivered from every single nation upon this earth, but our people will also be delivered looking like so-called Chinese, so-called whites, so-called Arabs, so-called whatever else. All right, you literally have, in other words, white Israelites, Chinese Israelites, Japanese Israelites, Arabian Israelites walking this earth. Okay? And I've met many of them. Many of them. Okay? Yes. And so we can go to Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 11. And it shall come. I'll start at verse 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. Talking about Yahushai. So it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah, talking about the northern and southern kingdom respectively, from the four corners of the earth. And that's what it is. So that I like to say all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Hashem Shai Bashim Kal Kodesh Wa Abad Babal Shalom.